like, there's no way. There's no way. Sneaks its way in, so dominant in the laning phase. Marn, of course, mixing things up. Double the Syndra, double the fun on the side of Roccat there. Now we're just kind of waiting. Is this going to be another insanely dominant game coming in from Misfits? Will they just start off ball rolling, lanes dying on their own? Will Roccat match up with them evenly this time? Will Roccat be able to get their junglers involved? I mean, I'm just curious to see exactly how this is going to happen.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it as well, whether Roccat can bounce back themselves. They have a fairly strong duo in the bottom lane to go alongside it. So now when we look at how Wadid and Gyanan can match up, they failed pretty badly in game 1. See if they can redeem themselves in game 2.
Gonna have to find out, ladies and gentlemen. Game 2, Roccat. It's make it or break it time. Misfits already up 1. They only need 1 more to secure this in the end. Roccat, 2 back-to-back. They want to win this one out. I mean, pressure's on once again. We put the pressure on Maxlor. We'll have to see who he decides to support, who he wants to carry this game out, because he has the tools. He has the Lee Sin. But on the opposite side, you have to respect. Now, Ignar, there's no hooks this time. It's the Tahm Kench. He's going to have to play, I think, a little safer, although we'll find out. Wadid and Hjarnan should be safer in lane.
Just going to try and whip people with the tongue. You know, it's the same, right? A little bit more gross, maybe, but Misfits making an early
Definitely
play.
more gross. Solid point, yes.
Hey, that's the analysis.
Gross bot
for
lane
here, okay?
tier list.
Like, that's what people were looking for.
Excellent.
Speaking of bot lane tier list, is how many things you can get into bot lane to try and give yourself an advantage. We did with this Malzahar, looking for the all-in with the Voidlings. Going to just try and replicate them as much as possible.
And as much as we talk about, you know, Tahm Kench and the ability to kind of interrupt these Malzahar ults, before that level 6 point, Malzahar still does an insane amount of damage if you ever overstep. So Hans really has to feel comfortable in this matchup because, I mean, Tahm Kench, yes, can devour a Voidling up, but if he burns that cooldown at any point, that lane is going to be very vulnerable.
And that's the thing for Ignar is the difficulty with the Tahm Kench as opposed to the Zyra or the Misfortune is you don't quite have the firepower to answer the harass. You have to play a little bit more defensive than you would want to because he's a melee champion pretty much when in range. He has to step back a lot compared to Misfortune and Zyra who want to try and contest, kill the Voidling and just move on with the laning phase. But this time you can see Cacao has started on the bottom side, as did Maxlor, so we're expecting them both towards the top side at 3 minutes. We'll see whether Alphari can level things to a point where he can get an engage off on Faxi maybe, and end up picking him off. But look at how the lane is pushing away from him. Hjarnan and Wadid on this bottom side are pushing in as well.
Yeah, I like this. Misfits adjusting on the fly. Roccat responding in kind, knowing where they want to put their early jungle pressure. This time it's not bot lane. This time it's going to be on the top. And Wadid going to need to respect the Tahm Kench here. That's a lot of early stacks going down, and Ignar playing nicely around the Voidlings.
Wadid trying to get it to aggro onto Ignar, trying to get that Voidling like, no, don't attack the minions, attack the support. Of course, level 2 makes that a heck of a lot more easy for
visions,
him.
100% movement speed steroid, and they're guaranteed to pursue the target of your choice.
So now it becomes a little bit more treacherous for Ignar if he steps forward. Vision control on the top side has been a factor here. As you can see, Maxlor and Cacao going back and forth. It was actually Maxlor that secured that Rift Scuttler first. Cacao is going to try and punish them by going through lane. Very early for a play like that. Cacao thinks better of it. Retreats back to his jungle to farm.
Of course, is a little bit behind now in terms of the early jungle pressure as Maxlor doesn't even consider the play, goes straight for the Gromp. Will now be able to make it to the lane that much quicker if he wants his presence known. Maokai, a lot of good gank set up here. Flash forward, Alphari pulling backwards. Maxlor goes in, but just a flash traded for a flash in the end.
Flash for flash, you can see that Alphari, although typically likes to pressure out in that lane, knew that Maxlor had the option to be still around the top side and ends up backing away from it. So ultimately a bit of an even trade between the two, but look at the CS difference, 23-9 right now. This is why Kennen is such a lane bully. Even starting Cull for Alphari, putting out so much presence in this top lane, going to build towards that AD build, I would imagine, for this Kennen. We've seen it time and time again over in LCK.
Yeah, and I mean, Cole just such a, you know, obviously not as strong as an early laning item as the Doran's Blade. We don't see it in the bot lane just because of how important those early levels are, but when you already have a winning matchup, when you can guarantee an advantage here just based on champion picks, Cole seems so very strong. And Foxy not taking a ton of damage from the poke there, but cannot afford to take extended trades, just has to use his abilities as best he can. And for now, it means backing off, kind of conceding defeat here.
Yep. He uses his TP to get back into lane, but you were talking a little bit about Cullen. This is just Alphari essentially cutting a corner that he feels is safe to take. He doesn't want to have to start for a Doran's laning item, despite it being very efficient on Kennen because of his auto-attack presence. Just goes, hey, I want to just get a little bit more gold, accelerate faster towards my Blade of the Ruined King build that we've seen a few times over in LCK. So Alphari will back himself away. Actually backs away with about 1,100 gold right now, so that's a decent spot to be in. We'll see what he ends up picking up.
Ooh, interesting. Opts for the Null Magic Mantle. Wants to continue to be able to trade face first. So often we see players go for the recurve bow. This time, just wants to make sure he's not going to lose out to those Maokai base damages. Of course, yes, he is a tank, but you do still have to respect him. Does a lot of burst damage. He's allowed to line up all those abilities. Yeah,
significant amount of damage comes from that. So Alphari, Negatron Cloak in hand. Almost halfway to having a fully, stacked cull as well. 5 minutes into the game. That's a decent feat, but we'll see whether he can play this a bit better. No flash yet. Alphari, can he read that Maxwell could be top? This is smart, actually.
Not quite under the turret. Yes, he is. Foxy potentially in trouble. Alphari maybe looking for the stun. Now in trouble. Lee Sin pulls back, and Alphari going to survive.
This is a big change for Alphari, and I know we're focusing a lot in the top lane. That's the kind of play that Alphari would have died in Challenger. He would have overextended, looked for the farm, and just kind of gone aggressive, thinking he had a massive lead in the lane. This time he plays more conservative, retreats from the gank. That is a growth, a point of growth for Alphari that we've seen since LCS.
Oh, but it's not about Alphari right now. It's about Cacao. It's about Power People. Flash over. Perfect outplay, but no more mana to back it up. He moves in. Lee Sin's on the way in. First blood drops for Cacao. He could be next, though. Max Lord pulls back. Quick kill pickup for Misfits and a beautiful flash from Power of Evil.
Good answer from the Misfits, putting their priority elsewhere on the map, and they knew that if Power of Evil can hit that ult, if they can get the damage down onto Betsy, it's pretty much a kill as soon as Cacao jumps into the lane as well. So nice focus on the mid lane out of Cacao when everything else seemed to be drifting towards the top side.
Mixing it up, of course, aggressive jungle builds coming in from both sides. Double long swords, the Skirmisher Saber coming in for Cacao. There's a lot of power on each of their hands.
And this is a horrible feeling if you were Fax. He had to recall out of the lane because it had pushed away. He tried to just get anything he could. Ruby Crystal was the name of the game, but a lot of action in the top lane. Bottom lane, we haven't touched on too much in this game. Last game was all about bot lane. We'd already had two kills by this point bot side. So,
of course, we are, as we so often are in this meta, waiting for level 6 in the bot lane, waiting for these big, high-impact ultimates. You're not going to get one from Tahm Kench, but you will get one from the Malzahar, from the Varus, from the Jhin. Got to be ready for that power. And despite the advantage that Cacao has built for himself, not going to risk contesting this red buff. Just going to give it over to Maxor in the end.
I think it's a smart decision. You can see that they'd already lost track of Widid, had drifted up into the jungle, so Cacao, good communication with his team on that one. Map awareness to know not to go aggressive potentially into 3 people. Does have the option of that Drake. If they can push bot lane out and force Syndra back away, there is the option always available, but it's risky without getting a kill. You don't really want to do it without starting a fight because we saw how Roccat can kind of push back against objectives a little bit in their series last week, but certainly always just about vision control, make sure there's no chance of a steal.
Right now, of course, the game, about 1,000 gold in the favor of Misfits. A decent lead once again, not quite as big as previous laning phase. Ignar, not quite as much impact in the early phases with this Tahm Kench. But red buff now contested. Cacao moving forward, knows it's being taken, but Betsy's here as well. Has the unleashed power, has all the tools available, but Ignar doesn't care. Flashes forward, they're moving in. Maxor maybe going to look to kick him back, but Alphari's on the backside as well. It's a big fight. Betsy going to get popped in an instant, and Alphari makes it out with a sliver of life.
You know, you've got to watch out as Misfits start grouping on that top side. Ignar had recalled back earlier from that bot lane trade, and it's Ignar that picks up one of the kills. I mean, Misfits right now, despite a slower start to this game, they still look like they're in control. They're beating Roccat to the punch around the map, and it's resulting in fairly significant increases in gold between the teams. You can see they have a decent lead for now.
Yeah, approaching 2K once again as we take a look at that replay. Things just go south for Roccat so quickly.
Yeah, Ignar roams up. Maxlor is already, piecing out of this fight. Alphari low, but they can't capitalize on it. Faxi never even got to the fight to try and assist, so it's kind of been a little bit of a bad few minutes for Roccat. One saving grace is we talked about how Maokai can afford to come out of the laning phase a bit behind on CS. Well, he's actually ahead now. This is one of the strengths now that Maokai has got himself a little bit more health and resistances. starts evening the laning phase up. It's a minor point when it comes to, you know, between 5 and 10 CS when you count a Maokai. His ultimate does so much work. His passive does so much work. The Faxi is in a good spot for Roccat.
Interesting, too. Wadid, a player that we haven't seen as much from yet. He has some unique strategies coming here on the bottom lane. You see Malzahar maxing the silence instead of the Voidlings. Maybe looking, I mean, for the extended silence duration. Not exactly sure what the thought process is here.
That's an interesting one. Everybody we've really seen has done Void Swarm for the most part. We were discussing this a lot in the office this week, you know, in preparation, looking at how Malzahar has so much presence in the bottom lane. You just want those Voidlings to be as strong as possible, replicate as many times as you possibly can to just take somebody's health half off. I mean, that's something that we haven't seen too much. The silence is a little, you know, it's a bit of a smaller factor on this, refreshing the, you know, some of the Voidling attacks. So we'll see what Wadid can end up doing with that. But it's certainly not the strongest point of Malzahar's support.
Interesting decision overall. We'll have to see how that silence affects the coming team fights. If they can maybe lock down some of these champions very reliant on using their abilities. For instance, the Kha'Zix needs to use that Q over and over again. Ignar taking some extra gold from the Voidling, so we'll get caught up for a bit of damage, but not going to matter too much to the Tahm Kench.
You can see how Hans Sommer is adapting his build ever so slightly to deal with some of the tank focus that is coming out from Roccat, with Faxi being on this Maokai, and inevitably Maxwell getting a little bit more resistance. You can see he's going towards Blade of the Ruined King. It's something we saw Prey do in the early time of Varus this split, one of the first games over in LCK. So just trying to get a little bit more of that percent damage, get a little bit more tank busting power coming out from it. We'll see how that pans out for Hans Sommer, but certainly a big departure from the way Kjaernen was playing it in the last game.
I mean, we've seen so much variance already. We saw Tear of the Goddess, the old school Varus build. We've seen the pure lethality build coming in last game from Kjaernen, and Hans now bringing it back. Of course, they did change the passive. Attack speed now very effective on Varus. When the passive procs, you get additional attack speed based on your attack speed. So it does get a bit degenerate pretty quick. You can start stacking that, but that's playing safe in the mid lane. Not going to take the disrespect here. Just flashes in onto Cacao. Going to get him in the end. Misfits a little too quick to underestimate the mid lane talent on the side of Roccat.
And good grouping by Roccat here as well. As soon as that play is finished, Kjaernen and Wadid already up in this mid lane, trying to push on the tower, and you can see the Power of Evil. Yes, he still has his ultimates, that's one thing to watch out for, but Roccat had to kind of, Misfits had to concede a little bit on that mid tower, and now it's going to turn into a dragon.
Oh, Foxy going in onto Alfari. I don't know if this is a good choice. He's moving forward, blocking as much damage as he can.
A lot of minions in the wave, though. Heavy amount of damage Alfari would have taken if he had taken that trade, but ultimately, it's a dragon going over to Roccat. And that all comes from this. We're talking about the disrespect. Well, Cacao gets stunned, loses a third of his health, and goes, I guess I'll stay mid for a little bit longer. Ends up getting ulted, and Betsy picks up the kill.
I mean, he started running pretty quick, but I just think approaching the Syndra so aggressively may have just not expected Betsy to be quite so quick on the trigger, quite so confident to go in. But press R to delete never seems to fail on the Syndra. Of course, hit his other abilities as well, so using both aspects of the champ. Not quite at the point where she can push one button and kill just about anyone.
At what point does that meme kind of loop round and people go from it being an outplay to ironically being an outplay to actually being an outplay again? That one wasn't, but I'm just wondering how far that's...
that's a little, I'm gonna be honest, that's a little too much for me, man. There were too many layers deep at this point. Let's keep it just on the surface level.
Okay.
One guy died. Somebody outplayed somebody. Perfect.
Look, we don't have like a director of memes now that Pulse is gone.
That's true.
Like, he was the one that kept on top of these
It's a big
things.
burden, and I
don't know what the kids are saying, Dracos. I need help with this.
I don't know what to tell you, man.
You can just carry on with the game. It's all right.
Well, right now, not a whole lot is happening. Misfits once again building a decent gold lead for themselves. Roccat balancing it out as much as they can with the Infernal Drake. The small gold lead will start to mean less and less as we progress in the game, and the Infernal Drake will start to mean more and more. But for now, it is advantage to the side of Misfits. But for how much longer as Maxlor and Wadid invade the jungle here, we'll get down a bit of vision, and Cacao not caught shopping, is just going to back off here.
Yeah, Cacao backs himself away. Nice little aggressive play on the bot side to get vision control. You can see now Power of Evil going to try and deny Maxlor having any kind of presence in the mid lane. when we look at itemization, Alphari continuing the trend of Magic Resist, Mercury Treads, and the Wit's End, which we've seen a few times on the cannons we've seen. Based, obviously, attack speed. You got that Magic Resist, helps out. We've seen it paired with that Blade of the Ruined King, and people end up buying a little bit later.
Alphari. Every time the Maokai goes in, it looks like he's losing the trade. Oh, out comes the curtain call. Ignar being held still. They know they can't get Hansama with Ignar up and available. Extended silence goes in. Kick back into the team. Wadid. Oh, but he has the Devour in the end. Oh, flash out. Betsy here, maybe looking to throw it in. Drops the minion. Ult to Ignar. That's one down. Roccat with a clean dive on the bottom side.
Nice dive by Roccat. It was maybe a little harder forward than they needed it to, or thought it would be at first. Faxi's top side knows Cacao is here. They're waiting for the minion.
Alphari doesn't have ult, but flash for Cacao, flash for Alphari. This should be death. What can he dodge with the W? Goes in onto Cacao, gets the Courage of the Colossus Shield, knocks him back. Alphari tanking tower, gets out, and now Cacao setting his sights on that objective.
And now they can even the tower trade, but it was actually a nice setup from Roccat initially, as you alluded to, knowing Ignar was the one that would be the target, because Hansama would just get eaten otherwise. It took a little longer than they wanted it to, and Hansama ends up surviving from Ignar eating him. Of course, that Malefic Visions will run despite being devoured, so it was very, very close on Hansama actually dying from this, but good attempt with Maxwell coming around the side, but the fact the minion wave wasn't there meant that Maxwell was ever so, like, slightly late. He didn't have too much more of an option on that. Ignar gets taken down. A split second on Hansama surviving and dying on that one. Ignar, again, earning his, earning everything in that play.
And Misfits smart and aggressive here to make a move back to get Cacao another kill, but Roccat stepping up their performance this time around. No losing lanes right off the bat, utilizing their champions well, playing around the Tahm Kench counter pick, and Maxlore coming in big on the back half to make sure they got something out of that exchange. But can they keep the ball rolling? Can they keep this going? Because for now, Misfits stalling any pressure here on the top side.
Yeah, stalling the pressure, similarly to how Roccat kind of turned the game around in the first game for that 7 to 17 minute period where it slowed down. You just saw at the top of the screen that this game is a big departure from game 1 in terms of the bot lane marksman, with Hyanan up this game compared to Hansama's dominating CS lead at 15 in game 1. Of course, a lot of that stems from the Thresh, the fact they got 2 kills in lane very early on.
No. Don't give people, it's less impactful if you give people context. Just say it. No context. No. Of course, yeah, an absolutely devastating early game last time around. Misfits completely crushing Roccat, but now that they're on even footing, Roccat sorting this out much better this time around, and they've got great tools to get fights started.
See if there's one in mid lane as well. Top lane's been pushed out. Somebody's going to go and deal with that. Likely Alphari after that recall, but they both have TP available. Betsy trying to zone away with the orbs.
Just throwing down a bit of poke, setting up, of course, Deadly Flourish. Not going to get used that time around, but anytime anything hits, they can find the follow-up CC. Ignar maybe looking to set up the flank here with the ultimate, but Alphari just clearing out waves.
Misfits have pretty good ultimates when it comes to at least defending against sieges, because, oh, hang on, you're talking about Ignar going in.
Trouble, Ghost comes out, looking for the disengage, flash over, Cacao's over the wall, Betsy, I don't know if you can outplay everyone. Stealth goes in, he's set to fall, nothing left, he's gonna throw down a bit more damage, but not gonna find Cacao in the end.
Betsy strays a little too far forward, Ignar capitalizes again. A big play coming from the support. And, you know, as I was kind of talking about Misfits, they have good defensive siege capabilities, like their ultimates from Varus and Orianna are good at catching people out if they step too close, which is why Roccat was struggling to step forward, and maybe they've stepped forward at the wrong time here.
Ignar getting aggressive. Has the MOBA boots, so you shoot him and he gets real slow, but before you shoot him, that is one fast catfish. Aren't you now? Infernal Drake in their sights will balance out the difference between the two teams in Dragons if they can't secure, but the vision is here and Maxlore is in the area. No smite to his name, however, it means that the Dragon will go down uncontested.
Uncontested as Alphari had backed away topside, looking to teleport out. This is the play from Ignar. Again, this guy is such a playmaker for Misfits. We were, you know, thinking how good's he going to be on the stage of the LCS. Pushes Betsy, funnels him down, doesn't actually do much more than the ultimate.
And I want to give him credit for being a playmaker there, but he did just all behind Betsy, and I do not think hit him with anything before Cacao killed him. But
That's fine. It's zoning.
Zoning ultimate.
Like,
An actual zoning ult. We're not just using it as a joke this time. Actually zoning someone.
Just force him, you know. It's like putting cones out so he can't actually drive that way. It's horrible. One-way system right to death for Betsy on that one.
Unfortunate too. Uses both summoner spells. Tries to go for the outplay. Great dodge on so many abilities from Misfits, but can't find it in the end. Betsy 2-3-0 now. Not quite the CS score he had last time around as he approached the 20-minute mark. It's once again Misfits with a small lead in their favor, but just like last game, it's nothing crazy quite yet.
I know someone's going to clip out that Ignar's a playmaker, just ulting into mid lane. Love it. This guy is going to legitimately be one of the top supports in Europe, though, I feel. If he continues on at this pace, I think we've had a number of supports step out this split in LCS. No more do we have Vander. He's obviously playing, at least it looks like he'll be playing in Challenger. Kasing not around. That's a guy that made a name for himself as the upper echelon.
So kick back, Power Beetle locked up, taken out. Ignar nowhere in sight. Nice dive coming in from Roccat.
This is good. This is better out of Roccat. They made a couple of plays in this game that have looked so much more solid than everything they had in game one. And this slower paced game seems to benefit them. You heard Deficio talk earlier about you want to pick a later style composition that could maybe contend in the late game where Roccat have that better experience with players like Betsy, Hyun, and Maxlaw have the experience rather than Misfits. So it's interesting. Of course, Kakao and Parabeeble would contest that to the death, and Ignar, of course, having a lot of experience themselves. Parabeeble was not ready for this. Just the dive from Maxlaw clean with Betsy turns into a tower.
You can see Ignar had the flash, maybe contemplating for a moment there whether or not he should try to save the mid laner, but at that point knew it was doomed to fail, and he may just give up 2 kills instead of 1. But very different from game one. No longer are we in the mid-game lull because Misfits aren't quite sure what to do. Right now, both teams could control this game. All it takes is one misplay from either side. And for Misfits, a team we expected to kind of be the new contender for a top team in EU. Probably surprised here to see such a strong fight coming in from Roccat.
Yeah, especially after game one as well. Alfari's been a little quiet recently. This time, though, he's got a nice ward in Tribush, just spots with it coming through, so he knows he's got to back away from that bot lane. Was looking to try and exploit an opening, perhaps, to try and get another tower, but Misfits only have that one tower to their name. Oh,
Ignar under the tower. Betsy locked up. They're trying to kill Ignar, but the Great Hell comes out. Betsy still making it to safety. Maxlaw in to back him up. And Misfits, they forced the mid laner back, but what else can they do with it?
Didn't really get too much more from that exchange. The mid tower survives. Roccat have had so many people mid lane that it's been near impossible to push the tower down for Misfits. They've never really had that opening in this game. Meanwhile, Alfari still trying to work on the bottom tower. Misfits are a little bit lost in this game now. Not really sure what to do.
And looking a lot like last game. We kind of, there was this point where it all blew up, where one misplay led to Misfits getting the Baron, to getting them ahead. But right now it's pretty much dead even, and really any team's game to take.
Grabs and Freddy, of course, the support staff, the coaching staff of Roccat in the bottom side of your screen must be happy with this game. Like, great, we didn't get caught bot lane. We didn't lose all of this advantage early game. But honestly, Roccat have been making active plays on the map, been utilizing some of their diving potential with this Lee Sin, the kill threat with Syndra very effectively so far. So it's been looking a lot better. That Infernal Drake may very well actually give Roccat the edge right now. The gold is even, but that Drake to their name with another one coming up in 130. Excuse me, Misfits has one too. So it's even. Maybe if they get a second.
Now, could be all important for both sides, because outside of the Tahm Kench, pretty much every character on every team, Tahm Kench and Maokai, would be happy to have the additional AD or AP. Kha'Zix especially, as you can see the Black Cleaver in addition to the Warrior Enchantment. A lot of potential damage coming out there. Both teams just playing a game of wave clear, pushing back and forth when it comes to their solo laners.
Something you highlighted in game one has come to fruition in game two. Nice, I like it. Edge of Night on Jhin. You talked about it. Game one might have been a little more successful because of the Bard, but this time we'll defend against Ignar coming into the back of the fight, looking for those stacks to devour, but obviously that's fairly deep in a fight for Ignar to go. A lot of things that it might defend against, including Alfari.
Harnan very much valuing the lethality, will gain value as we move forward, and of course, no one really going to be building armor on this team, so we'll essentially be hitting for true damage at certain stages. a third serrated Dirk just to max out potentially a Duskblade of Drakthar as well. Pre-rework, I would not have been surprised, but would be interesting to see coming in here.
Yeah, that's very true. We haven't seen the Duskblade too much recently. Roccat, however, want to go for mid lane. This is a little risky with Alphari. There are wards behind them here. Alphari has the ability to teleport flank if he wants it. He's going to run across.
They have vision. They might see Alphari coming. They've now spotted him on the wards. Dragon instead. Going to be what they set their sights on live now as the Infernal spawns. But Misfits are just going to run it down the mid lane. They may be more than happy to trade this objective. Yeah,
they want to try and get that tower. There's Roccat just putting Magslaw on the Infernal Drake. It's easily possible for Lee Sin to solo a dragon much earlier into the game than this. It does take a little while, but I mean, what that was a force from Roccat. They push out mid, make sure they have a little bit of vision control, pull back for the dragon, and they're content with that as an objective.
Have to consider what the next step is here for the side of Misfits. They have the Kennen. Of course, they've chosen the split-pushing build. They want him to be this powerhouse, this duelist, but hasn't been able to pressure out the Maokai. They've been trading waves back and forth, and Misfits, not sure if they're scared to take the fights or just playing slow on the back half, but either way, Roccat taking the dragon for free, protecting the mid lane tower, and keeping the gold just about dead even.
It's been much better a game for Magslaw than the Elise game in game one. Cacao has had a fair amount of impact, 3 1-on-1. Cacao himself has actually upgraded the Void Spikes, the Evolved Void Spike second, which has become a little more common than before. It used to be always level 11, you'd get the Evolved Leap, so you get the reset. But Cacao, there haven't been a lot of fights in this game. He feels like it's not as important to get himself back out of a fight, but here's the fight gonna start.
Kick, Maxlor not gonna follow up, all 4 shots, look to connect. Oh, last one gonna hit Cacao in the end.
Ignite decides he doesn't want to block all of them. That would be way too easy.
No. I need some help. You can take a little bit of damage here. You're going to heal up fine in the jungle. Of course, good that you mentioned the Void Spikes. Now that we've seen the changes, the rework to Kha'Zix, they do slow those isolated targets. You get 3 of them to branch out in that fan pattern. So maybe easier to set up the picks here.
Yeah.
Maybe looking for a little bit more one-on-one potential as opposed to the potential reset dream Kha'Zix scenario.
A little bit of sustain in fights as well. You hit people while you're in the radius, you get your health back from it as well. That slow, however, was removed on non-isolated targets. So when it comes to, CC and team fights, it's not quite as impactful, but that was never really the whole thing with Void Spikes anyway. Now that it's like an 80 or 90% slow on isolated, it's really significant if you catch somebody on their own.
And of course, it was Faxi who was isolated in the bottom lane as Kennen was finally able to cut down that tower. Maokai not enough damage to cut through the creep wave
through here.
Or through the Kennen. Roccat making a very aggressive move towards Baron. Taumkench is very far away, but has the Abyssal Voyage and will move in. Have to be careful. Malzahar is there. We've seen this even from Misfits. Now the counterplay coming in from Roccat. They can use the Malzahar to stop the jungler, but here comes Cacao. They're going to get it in the end. Maxlor gets it. The fight kicks off, but Baron is in the favor of Roccat. It looks like they don't want to fight this. They're pulling back. They're bringing back every resource they have, and Alphari and the rest of Misfits walk away empty-handed.
Yeah, Alphari could not really find his positioning to TP into the fight, chose a defensive position behind the Baron, didn't go aggressively on a control ward that was in the Baron pit or any of the ones around the side, so Misfits lose out on the Baron. This is way better out of Roccat than we were anticipating looking at game one. That was a nice call from them, exploiting the fact that Alphari was pushed out in the bot side and had to use his TP.
And the good news is, of course, that Misfits do get that mid lane tower, but now, as long as that Baron buff is up and alive, Roccat is going to have the priority. They're going to have the pressure to push down these lanes, to cut down more towers. So maybe 1 tower for Misfits for now, but it could be way more. All of those inner towers could be vulnerable.
It's been a fairly hands-off game between these two teams. Much slower pace when it comes to fights. Unlike game one, a lot of people look at it and, not really understand exactly how Alphari playing that fight. You'd expect Kennen to just TP right into the middle, TP in ult to Zhonya's, but this isn't AP Kennen. This is more about the attack speed, the stacks of the slow and the stun that you were talking about earlier, trying to just lock as many people down over and over again, rather than just a one-shot in the fight that we've seen from Smeb at Worlds. So interested to see Alphari's performance as this game goes later, because he's going to really stop doing damage to champions like Faxi's Maokai at this point. Really don't have that advantage anymore. And Misfits slow on this play. Roccat drawing them around the map.
Of course, maybe not looking to take that team fight, because you mentioned Kennen doesn't have the prowess. Yes, you have the Orianna, but she's been building a little bit defensively. We have the Abyssal coming out. It's not the death cap. It's not all that upfront burst damage to really win this one out. And good news for Misfits is that they now have decent items across the board. 2 items completed for Hans Sama, penetration as well. The frozen mallet coming in from Alfari, so he may not do much damage to the Maokai, but if he can win the fight, Maokai is never going to make it out, even if it takes a minute or 2 to cut him down. So good things here and there, and at the end of the day, no inhibitor broken with this Baron quite yet, so Misfits not out of this whatsoever.
No, not out of it at all. And speaking of damage, we're yet to see a lot of Power of Evil's damage as well. It's all kind of hidden in that shockwave right now that we've not seen a big team fight deciding shockwave. Only 3,000 damage done so far by Power of Evil on the few skirmishes we've had. Betsy's managed to put out 10k. He's caught a couple of people with that burst mage, so not really too surprising when it comes to Betsy's damage. Power of Evil, he's hiding a lot of it still. We'll see one team fight, you would think, where they'll really get that Kha'Zix Orianna set up, and that would be a turning point that Misfits could build from. Here's Maxlor.
Oh, Maxlor caught out. He is going to try to snap out. No ultimate going to connect. Power of Evil going to keep that damage number low. Ignar now moving in. He could be taken down. Oh, he drops. No chance to activate the gray health. Unleashed power not even needed in that exchange.
So much use to try and keep Ignar alive there. You can see the heal was used from Hans Sama too. But they did not stop that kill going down. Again, Roccat trying to move around the map. We were talking about Power of Evil, he has to hit an ultimate. That time it completely whiffs, caught nobody. As Roccat take another tower.
Too eager to make the pick. The layering of CC not quite enough as Lee Sin hop to safety, and as Roccat secure yet another tower. 5-3 the score overall. Finally Roccat in the lead in gold. 51.6 to 50.4. It's not much, but it has to feel good to know you have the advantage. Cloud Drake next on the table. Massive wave bottom. Both teams maybe looking to reset here. Baron will start to fade, and the pressure will even out here in the end.
Yeah, only a Cloud Drake though, so I don't expect too much more than just a little smite fight to come out from this one.
Oh, Tahm Kench found his way in. Yarden is in trouble. He's going to get eaten up and spit back into the merciless lineup of Misfits. They're making their way down mid. In an instant, they have picked off one member. Maybe able to find something else as well. Heals now coming in, no member there to respond. They're going to cut down a tier 2 of their own and take that gold lead right back.
And just like that, Misfits find the opening they were looking for. Take out mid-inner tower now, looking for the inhibitor tower as well, because Hyanan and Wadid still not available. 15 seconds on the support, but no minion wave yet for Misfits.
Ult is available for Power of Evil. Kakao can jump in. No flash ult available from Alfari. Will they just try to siege this one up? Foxy, they're going to need to do something to stop this from happening. He's going to go in. He's going to get a little aggressive. Ball used to zone away Betsy. Kakao on the backside, very vulnerable. Betsy gets pulled back in. Power getting hungry for a kill. Goes in. Not going to be enough from Maxlor on the save. They're pulling back in the end. Maxlor advancing. May not be able to find anything. Misfits now on the retreat. Health bars low. TP is available from Faxi. There's wards across the board. But they're not going to take the chance to fight.
An important ult from Hans Sama actually just saved Power of Evil, who for a moment thought he'd overstepped. Thought pushing forward for that little engage he'd overstepped. We'll get to that in a second as Ignar managed to get himself into the back line. Hyanan tried to get out. Devour peeps him there as Wadid had fallen. We came forward and the shockwave hit onto Betsy. Betsy stepped forward actually to trade with his ultimate, but right as Betsy was about to throw out the rest of his damage, Change the Corruption locks him in place, can't capitalize on it, and that could have been a turnaround for Roccat, but inevitably ends up evening Betsy's score once again, 4-4 on this one. He's had some good plays, but also has been caught out by a lot of the maneuverability that Misfits have had.
Time and time again, Ignar threatening that backline, using the Abyssal Voyage, the semi-global ult to get behind the enemy team. Alfari now going to clear out that Cloud Drake just about solo as Kakao comes in. Make sure that they can secure it safely. The rest of Misfits here as well. Baron up in 54 seconds. Has to be a point that they can contest. And unfortunately for Misfits, we've been critical of their vision in the past. And while they've laid down plenty of it this game, you can see the bot side lit up. Baron pit is completely dark. Ignar now looking to change that.
Yeah, now they move up towards the Baron. Maxlor has to recall out because he's behind enemy lines at this point. You can see Wadid actually gives the assist me ping into the top side. Don't really think your team want to assist you in any kind of fights at this point, but Alfari wants to assist his team by pushing out bot side, keeping Faxi in this lane, not allowing him to drift up towards that Baron pit. But you spoke about the vision control. It is all in Rockat's favor, top side of the map. There's a few wards out for Misfits. They want to start a fight in mid lane.
Curtain call going in, fourth bullet going to connect. Cleanse goes out. Ignar just trying to make sure he can get something, but he's going to get eaten up before he can do anything. Maxlore still alive. The auto. Han Sama, no, goes down in the end. Power of Evil ensures the kill to drop. A slight mistake from Han Sama. Still works out for Misfits in the end.
And almost a bit of a gamble play from Misfits is the fact that Alphari held his teleport, did not use it, hoping that at least taking out Maxlore. Maxlore's still dead. This is risky with Kakao still alive. They've got him in full vision, and this Baron is not dying fast enough to 50-50. Alphari's here now.
Alphari goes over the wall, but not quite where he wanted to be. He's knocked out of the fight. Foxy's on the front line. Alphari's going to get cut down. There's no Zhonya's. There's no AP. Kennen goes down. Roccat now pulling backwards. Kakao maybe looking to deliver the ball, but the cooldown's not up yet. Roccat looking for the 4v4, and they find it. They take one and lose nothing in exchange.
What it ended up being was Roccat starting the Baron to draw Alphari up to the fight, try and get that teleport out from him, and Alphari couldn't quite find the positioning. Note, his flash is still not available. If he'd have been able to flash on top of Hyanan and Betsy, that fight would have gone so heavily in Misfits' favor that almost undoubtedly the Baron would have gone in their favor, but Misfits take a trade 1-for-1 in that fight. I believe it was in the end of all things. At least they lost Alphari and then backed themselves away. Roccat want to go for it again. This time Maxlore is alive. The smite is there for them. Kakao is still around.
The Power of Evil has ult. We've seen crazier things than Baron steals. Have to be careful, have to respect the ball. It's just sitting in the pit. They have no way to get rid of it.
We've seen Power of Evil steal it with ultimate on Orianna before.
Goes in, keep your eyes on the health bar, it's going lower, get ready for Kakao to jump in, out comes the curtain call, no CC connects on the jungler, they could go in a moment's notice, it drops lower, drops lower, do it again! Every time! Oh, Power of Evil gets it! Ignar ferries the team to safety, Misfits! Taking the driver's seat back from Roccat with the steal from Power.
Oh, he's done it again, Power of Evil with the Orianna. Maxlore had smite, Kakao had smite. This was straight up Power of Evil, just stealing it away. The ultimate comes down from Hyanan, and of course he's just trying to force Misfits back away. Keep an eye, both jungle smites are available, and it's all about the timing. Maxlore is right there, level 15.
There's the ult. No! You can call it luck, you can call it skill, you can call it one of the hardest reads. That's us. We don't look as cool as Captain Flowers. That's what I will say about that replay. That man has his pantomiming of every action down for sure.
That's what I'm going to focus this next week on.
Got it. Next time someone steals a Baron, guys, I promise we will punch the air more.
My Warwick impression is going to be on point next week. You just ask me, we'll nail it. It'll be great, but not as great as that Baron steal.
Yeah, it was pretty fantastic, and well deserving of us jumping around for at least a moment. Although now comes the curtain call. Roccat on the front lines. Sonic Wave does not connect. Maxlore getting frisky. Just looking maybe to hope to get some cooldowns out.
So Maxlore's smite would have been doing 850 damage to that Baron. So it is a little bit of an awkward point, a tipping point on that, but Shockwave itself is only just doing overall.
Kick back to the team. Kakao's gonna drop. So aggressive coming in from the jungler. Betsy's now on the back side. One kill for nothing. I'm not quite sure what that was.
Over-aggressive is what it was out of Kakao. I think he thought Power of Evil had the ball on him to deliver the ult. He was jumping right in to try and get it. Maybe just oversteps the range and the ball snapped back. We'll have to take another look at that fight just to double check.
Misfits, though, still have the Baron, so no major losses. May not be able to get anything with it. So Alphari pushes in on the top side, can establish vision control, can set themselves up for future plays. But the momentum has been stalled out. Kakao, big fumble here.
Is it just... No, he didn't even have the ball on him. It was just Kakao jumps in, the ball came in after, got locked down. Power of Evil couldn't get the ult off. And just ends up, you know, having Kakao end up falling.
Yep. Thank you, observers. That is, in fact, Kakao. This is Maxlore fighting Han Sama, and unfortunately going to get eaten up by Ignar here. Is a flash. taken away in the end as Foxy does his best to hold on to this tower. But the reality is he doesn't do enough damage to dissuade the cannon, and there's so much attack speed. It's cut through the tower. But the cannon minion's not going to let him get any closer. Will still get it in the end. Alfari now very low, but does get a tower for the team. It's 3K in their advantage as well. Maxlow pulling back. No inhibitors dropping yet for either side. Next Dragon will be the Elder, just 6 seconds away, and there's no vision here for the side of Roccat on the Dragon itself, but so much flanking vision, so much vision behind the team. Maybe an opportunity for Faxi to find his way in. Yeah, if Faxi finds his way in, he'll have a lot more success than Alfari trying to come in through the front door, so we'll keep an eye on Alfari's positioning. Ignore wants to go with Cacao. Indeed. Cacao not going to get locked up. Curtain Call comes out. Decent amount of damage.
Here comes the teleport.
He's on the backside. Foxy going to flash over the wall. He goes in. Hansama now in trouble. Knocked back into the team. Will they be able to get the damage? Backdoor kicks him back. Hansama hand delivered as the tanky front line goes in. Cacao's all alone. They turn to pick him up. They don't find him yet though. Maxlow retreats. Members traded back and forth. At the end of the day, Roccat has every member alive. Maokai comes back with a GA. Okay, I was very confused for a moment.
Yeah, Faxi tried to 1v3 in the back of that fight, and Roccat, good exhaust comes out from them onto Cacao as Cacao is about to jump Woody and Betsy. Another confusing moment as Lee Sin flies into the pit. You're like, oh, it's a steal.
I've done that one before. He steals it from another teammate. Of course,
just jumping around.
I mean, this game incredibly even. You can see Misfits, Cloud Drake Infernal versus Infernal Infernal. Double Infernal Elder Drake means you essentially have 3 plus the damage buff. None of that really matters if Misfits keep making mistakes like these.
Good TP play out of Faxi. We haven't seen all that much of him over the first 2 weeks, but flash into the fight right onto Hansama. Watch the exhaust on the bot side of your screen. Cacao actually comes right out of the Malzahar ulti and instantly met with an exhaust as he jumps forward. Faxi not really strong enough to contend with 3, but took a long, long time away from Alfari and Power of Evil in that exchange. So Maxlow, great kick though. Getting
excellent kick. Yeah, Hansama, I mean, it's not the other Varus build. You're not just going to have the big crits. You need to continue to auto-attack to get that damage out. So really not a lot of effective damage coming in from the Varus in that exchange. And so good that Roccat have been consistently able to pick members off to start each and every one of these fights.
Yeah, really good start on that. And, you know, you're talking about itemization earlier. We have got that Duskblade of Drakthar. Of course, now has a couple of little different passives and abilities on it. A lot around warding and
now it's got
deactivating
it was
enemy
rebuilt
wards.
For assassins, and Jin's a sociopath, but it doesn't really line up, I think. However, it will provide a nice little bit of damage on that first auto when he comes out of vision.
Yep. And also assists in vision control, disabling wards. It's great, 80s.
Red Sweeper.
They've
80s.
got more utility now.
80s in 2017.
We're finding out what they can do. They can disable wards. I mean, they used to be able to do that by killing them too. But.
Well, Curtain Call comes out. Not quite dusk for Hansama, as Ignar's going to eat him up, and the tower's slowly going to fall. Misfits don't even want to risk the fight here. Just pull it back in. That's 2 member power. Just pops the support instantly, but there's no more aggression coming in quite yet, and that's because Alfari is on the bottom side, and he's trading a tower back. Cacao trying to buy time, trying to keep them busy as the Kennen continues the pressure. Jin being pulled back. Garnet in trouble. I don't know if they're going to get it. Meanwhile, Alfari on the bottom
He's still pushing.
side.
They're just stopping the recalls here because Alfari is going to do significant damage down to that tower.
Get it.
He's going to even it up.
He might be able to get
He's
the
going to
inhibitor
get the inhibitor from this.
This is so good for Misfits.
They can't stop Faxi though. Faxi did get the recall off. Alfari will have to stop as soon as he's got it. He can still, as long as the team stop the rest of the backs, he can still get the inhibitor.
But Baron is live, and Alfari's on the bottom side. Faxi as well, though. Alfari has TP, Faxi does not. Alfari just continuing to throw out the damage. Faxi doesn't really have a good way out of this. Frozen Mallet makes it so difficult.
Whittling him down. It's not easy.
Ping's now coming onto the Baron. Misfits know they have the man advantage. Are they going to pull the trigger here?
Oh, Misfits, they back away. They don't really feel overly confident on it. Alfari's still trying to just take everything from the bottom side of the map. I mean, this attack speed build, if he just has those prolonged moments of just auto-attacking again and again. He will slowly chop down the tree. It does take a little while. He has got, I guess, a mallet, a sword, and a machete aren't exactly the best things for a lumberjack. But it'll work. It'll work for Alphari.
It'll work. It'll work. Not quite the tools that you want in this exchange, but hopefully it'll do the job in the end. For now, though, Misfits hoping to find that Baron as we take one last look.
So this was the ball delivery system of your opponents walking over the Orianna ball, which...
Wadid was his own ball delivery system.
That's when you have somebody like delivered to one of those shipping centers and you got to go walk and pick it up. It's a lot more annoying. The success rate is great though. Power of Evil happy with that one.
It did work with the Baron Seal too, so I can't really knock your logic here, but...
Well, the Baron didn't do much walking over the ball, but that was a lot better anyway.
Now Roccat looking to set up for a Baron once again.
Uh-oh, seen this before.
Now remember, the Power of Evil should not be able to steal this.
Theoretically.
Theoretically.
Alphari's on the base still.
Alphari's trying to be the one-man band to get this whole thing done, but nothing coming out from them quite yet. Roccat need to make a decision fast, because Alphari's may not be able to kill the Maokai. He's just going to heal up in the meantime. Taking his time here. That's a single super minion. Not going to be enough to break it in.
Oh, Nicholas going! They're just going to rush it!
I don't care about Cacao. Good! Now pulling back. Betsy doing his best to hold on here. Flash forward. Misfits moving on to Betsy. Betsy has overstepped. This is disastrous. The wave is there. Misfits are advancing. You can see it. Blood in the eyes of Betsy as he oversteps, makes an over-aggressive play, and the ball is now in the court of Misfits.
The one-man band turns into three-man band, and Misfits are looking to push in as they regroup completely. Alphari's TPing into this as well. Betsy's still not alive for 45 seconds. It looks like they want to shut this one out.
Alphari, no ultimate, no flash, can't get in, but the ball from Power of Evil is there. The leap, the flash from Cacao. They have everything they need to deliver it. They're waiting. Keep your eyes on Cacao. Keep your eyes on the ball. The fight, nice and slow. Decent damage on the Fax. He can get eaten up. The engage comes in. Keep your eyes on Cacao. He's going to get kicked back. He doesn't have time. Power of Evil has to make a decision now. Cacao leaps forward.
Oh, he's
Cacao,
going.
he's going to get popped. Yarnin moving in, trying to get a little bit more damage out. They're going to try to lock down Cacao. Fax, he has killed Ignar. Cacao pulling back. Misfits have overstepped. The ball, not enough. They do not get it in the end. Misfits hesitate on the execution, and Roccat hold on to the base.
And Roccat are actually about to get the inhibitor on the top side. Nobody's recalling in time. Misfits.
TP.
Roccat are TPing towards the Baron here. Oh, and no, it's actually just to cut them off. They killed Cacao.
Hansama locking him up.
Good ult.
He's denied the back, so can they use this time to take Baron? He's blocking the wave so it can't push into the base.
Oh, but look at Alphari. He's in the darkness of the bottom side here, waiting outside of vision control. Oh, this, if they start that Baron Roccat, they're going to have vision on it. Hansama defends. Alphari in what would be his fourth game on the LCS stage, wants to backdoor the base.
Oh, baited and outsmarted. Roccat have to pull back. There's no one there to stop the bees. Alphari will be able to do decent damage, but he can't break the base by himself. Now moving forward, Maokai goes in. Alphari will be locked up. The team is here as well to back him up. Keep your eyes. Where is the snare from Jin? They're not going to need it. Alphari's killed. The base is wide open. Roccat have to think carefully about their next move because it's rinse and repeat. Power of Evil decides not to push in the end. We'll back off.
That would have been if first you don't succeed. Try again on that bottom side. Max Law's just going to push the wave back as far as he can, but it does deny a Baron attempt. Ooh, Alphari trying to be sneaky through the bot lane.
And the confidence difference you can see from Roccat now is instantaneous. No longer anything left to protect that Nexus. Suddenly every play is being cautiously made. It's Misfits who are making the aggressive moves, and it could be so easy to punish them. Their top laner is down, but because there is nothing standing between Misfits and victory, if Roccat make an aggressive move, they just cannot afford to do anything here.
There is, however, the age-old chance. If Alphari pushes out bot lane and can sneak down there once his teleport is available, one ward would be all it takes.
Curtain call comes out. Hansama. Oh, fancy footwork. That's not going to be enough. He's going to... Ooh! Oh, nice play of the Rune King to make it out. All right, engage moves out. Got to be ready for the Baron. But that TP ward, I think it's there. I think I see it in the bottom lane.
Hansama had no summoners from that. That is a TP ward. You are correct.
The ping is onto the base. Alfari TP not up yet,
No
however.
TP yet.
Cacao ready to deliver the ball. Baron dropping lower. They can look for the play.
Ignar, they're going! Ignor's going with
Oh,
Alfari!
no!
They're forcing it!
Oh,
He stole it! Cacao stole it anyway!
Cacao! Oh, they're moving forward. They're going to take
done
it.
it!
There's nothing left. Roccat make every move to take control of the game, but in the end, the one that matters falls in the favor of Misfits.
Oh, and in the madness! 49 minutes in the game, the chaos, the confusion, Cacao takes the Baron, but it didn't matter. Ignar, we said he's a playmaker, him and Alfari ult into the base.
He can be hooking people in lane at level 2. He can be getting duo kills in a world where we never see duo kills, or he can be backdooring a Kennen, taking him behind enemy lines, and just going straight for the throat there. And he looks so casual. I mean, he just like solo won a game. And he's just like, yeah, got this.
Roccat, you know, it was a better game from them in game 2. It looked more solid. They had a couple of plays, but a Shockwave Baron steal, 2 attempted backdoors before one was finally successful. From Misfits, they just... it wasn't solid and consistent. It was flashy, a little bit unorthodox, and a lot of gambles from time to time, but they just pushed Roccat so far in this game that Roccat finally broke, tried to take the Baron, had no options left to save their base.
Misfits coming out with the 2-0. Not quite as close as many would have expected.
Look at Pyra, he wants to get in there.
Pyra does want
Get in there for the
I
interview.
want to know
Get in
too,
there.
Pyra. What went down? What did it sound like?
Just a glimpse of what's coming soon. But man, Misfits, that game, I think a lot of people are going to maybe become Misfits fans after watching just the madness.
The mid laner steals a Baron. Their top laners backdoors with their legendary support player. Their jungler's Cacao.
Parameval's now a little bit, he's like, hey guys, I stole a Baron, I stole a Baron. And Cacao's like, yeah, I did that. Ignar's like, I won the game. Don't worry, we all did something special. Somehow dilutes the impact of Orianna stealing a Baron, but certainly a massive play
Twice.
from Misfits.
I think in his career. Is there more? I feel like there could be more at this point that I've missed.
His next step's twice in one game. That's what you got to do.
Up the ante for Power of Evil. One Baron steal with Orianna ult is not enough anymore, ladies and gentlemen. But, I mean, so I'm obviously very caught in the moment, and as are you. And there's a lot of things that went wrong for both teams here, but it just doesn't feel like the time for the critical eye because Misfits, I mean, even in the weirdest situations, find a way to win. Yeah.
They have some weird comfort zone where that was more about individual plays a lot of the time. I mean, Hans Sama getting caught out at the end with no summoners still survives, and the rest of his team just win the game off it is a very weird, unique dynamic. But I think Game 1 showed a little bit more of the team play out of Misfits. Game 2 showed a little bit more of team play out of Roccat, which there are still positives to take away from the game, despite it being a little messy.
True, we said at the beginning, this has to be the game where Maxwell shows up, or we're going to have to reevaluate how we feel. And he did show up. He had amazing kicks, amazing setups to keep the team going. The Tahm Kench counterpick was not enough to stop all the pick potential on this team. This looked good for Roccat.
Yeah.
It was not enough to win the game, and to a certain degree in the end, that's all that matters. But at the same time, it feels like as we move forward, we can expect more and more from Roccat.
Yeah, it looks like we can. If they can find a little bit of consistency, pick up a couple of wins, there's still a chance.
Well, one man who's no stranger to picking up wins is standing by with Pyra from the Misfits' cheeky bot lane.
Gentlemen, and a great cast on the day. I'm in fact joined by two red-hot duo laners, of course. Ignar, Hans Sama, congratulations on your win, gentlemen. And I want to ask you about that final play, delivering Alfari into the back door. What was going on in your mind when you guys made that call?
Honestly, we called my ult and bring Alfari. We already called. If they go Baron, we can end. So 3 men can block. So we already know the win.
Yeah, you executed it almost perfectly. I mean, incredibly well played. But enough about going with your top lane. I want to talk about some bot lane because you guys were on fire. Game number 1, so clean. And you guys are looking really hot just in general. I want to ask you to Hans, how do you guys compare in your mind to other bottom lanes in the LCS?
I think compared to other bot lanes in LCS, would say we are one of the best bot lanes, but for me, I think I need to learn more experience as an AD carry. And Ignar has been in an LCK and he's bringing me a lot of stuff, so I think Ignar is really good.
Absolutely. So, Ignar, back to you. You know, you guys have changed out junglers. You used to play with Wisdom, now you're playing with Cacao. What has that been? How has that been like comparatively? And now that you have a new jungler, what is his role now on the team?
Wisdom was really good jungler, but I think Cacao is more try to communication with teammate and try to more learn English. So communication is different compared to Wisdom.
It seems like it's working well for you guys. So last question over to you, Hans. Looking ahead, you guys have got G2 next, so you've had some experience. How well do you feel you can handle these guys?
I think obviously G2 is the best team in Europe, and I faced Sven. I think he's the best AD, and he's a monster. And yeah, I think maybe if we give all our best, maybe we can take them one game at least. And I'm really waiting to face them.
All right, well, you won't have to wait too long. Thank you for joining me, gentlemen. Congratulations on your 2-0 victory. But that's all the time we got for now, because we're going to toss it over to the analyst desk for the post-game lobby.
Thank you very much, Pyra, indeed. And welcome, everybody, to the post-game lobby, where we are still here and we are going to break down everything that happened today and a lot more. And there's a lot to break down from that last game. And we want to start by the end. We didn't get to look at it, but Cacao actually managed to steal or take the Baron. We don't know what happened. So we're going to take a look and have Misfits finish the game. Did they steal the game?
Did they steal the game? I felt like Roccat should have won this game, but at the same time, I mean, yeah, but like I didn't feel like it was like a super insane comeback or something. It was more like both teams had a chance to win, but Roccat should have won.
I agree. I think Roccat should have definitely won the game. They had like all the opportunities to end the game. I mean, not end, but take advantage, and they don't use like their advantage.
I want to take a look at the pick and ban and use a quote from Exiles during the game. He said, "If you win with this comp, it's disrespect. If you lose with it, you're being cocky." Can you explain why on the side of Misfits?
I think that, like, overall their comp, if you look at it, they drafted, like, the picks that I want to highlight are Kennen and Orianna. Basically, if you pick Orianna, you want to go for team fights, right? And if you pick Kennen, then you want to go for 1-3-1 comp. And Orianna doesn't fit into this style. So if you pick Kennen first, then you want to have a split push mid lane. They could have picked Katarina or Corki in this case into it, or they just go for a tank top lane and then they go for team fights with Orianna, which is also fine.
Because they could actually have like first picked Shen in the second pick phase, but they decided to ban it. I'm actually not sure. I guess they wanted to ban it because they didn't want to play Kennen split push against the Shen. But like you could just first pick that Shen and then pick the same like Corki, something like that for the last pick, and you had like, I think, an easier to play 1-3-1. Because the problem with Kennen AD carry or Kennen attack speed build, which obviously was used over in LCK quite a lot, is that it's only really like good in split push. Like your team fighting is extremely weak, especially compared to Maokai.
Won the game.
Yeah, he won the game by split pushing, obviously, but he was actually part of losing the game with his team for like 35, 40 minutes, which was a big issue.
Yeah, jungle picks. Not your favorites again. What are your opinions on Kha'Zix and Lee Sin? Yeah, well,
Okay,
you'd always
so
go for Ivern.
I think Kha'Zix is really good and it's broken, but I'm not so sure it should be like blind pick and like first pick every game. Because like in this game, they had all the tools to like kind of shut down Kha'Zix, and we saw like in late game, like he wasn't that useful anymore. He was only good for early game.
Same one for Lee Sin?
I guess it was fine, but I think he could have done more in the early game as well. Like you get Lee Sin to get something in the early game.
Yeah. All right, well, as we said, Misfits, in the end, they win it, but Roccat deserved to win. And you want to take a look at some of the mid-game moves they made, Baron specifically?
Yeah, so this is kind of the same as the replay we had after last game, where we want to show like a point in the mid game where everything slows down and why it's slowing down. So what you should notice instantly is like the vision Roccat is setting up around Baron, but then Xerxes, what they actually decide to do with this vision now that we roll the replay. Because it's going to be a big problem. Like, you're setting up all this vision here.
Yeah,
I'm going to ask the million-dollar question here to two pro players. When you set up full vision around Baron, should you then play around Baron, or should you leave the lane? It's a big question here.
Well, here you should just play around the vision you got. Like you
But
have,
where are they going then?
like here, like going on cannon, you just lose all the vision you put, all the pressure you had, and you had like Maokai with TP just base and come with TP with homeguard and TP behind them, and you can either do that or 5-man Baron and force cannon TP, and then you have the TP advantage.
Yeah, because as we saw here, Roccat decided to put up all the vision and say, screw that, we don't want to play Baron anyway. They tried to gank the cannon bot lane for some really weird reason, obviously didn't work. And as we just saw in the end, Misfits just walks in, clear out every single ward, take control of the Baron, and basically forces Roccat to reset the whole thing again, spend another few minutes on getting new wards, setting them up again, and it just slows down the entire mid game. And that was why Roccat couldn't actually get Baron fast enough.
I mean, when they play against Cannon, like Cannon is so bad, like with this AD build in team fighting, that they just have to force fights. They have to push out mid, get into top side jungle, bait Baron, and when the enemy team comes to get vision on the Baron, then they just TP behind and force the fight. Like, you have to team fight against this Cannon.
And when you win, you get to meet the fans. That's a lot of fun.
That's true. But your Baron, well, actually, these guys were fine because it was Roccat we flaming right here. So, but another thing actually happened then right after, because then Misfits ends up in the mid game kind of dropping the ball a little bit, and specifically Kakao in our next replay, because after Roccat had now kind of failed getting the Baron and everything was delayed, they actually still get an opening because Kakao ends up obviously going down to the bottom side. I think we might have a replay of it right here. Just look at your minimap, guys. So Xerxes, you really wanted to talk about this.
So I guess the replay should have been a bit earlier. Okay, so there was I think it was a pink in the Sky Bush bot lane, and Kakao was spotted there. But even then, like, there was absolutely no reason to go bot lane. Okay, you go bot lane, you kill that Maokai, and then what? They can still do Baron, and you get at most 2 turrets. And now you got spotted, you didn't get the kill, you would have gotten the turret anyway, and here you just lost the Baron.
Yeah, and now Roccat can just burn it because the jungler is not there, so there's no chance of like a smite steal.
And here just disengage. You have no reason to fight here. And it's really good.
They're trying to disengage.
They were,
Really?
they did. It's just, it was really weird to see like Misfits then suddenly say, okay, we know the entire game plan is around Baron right now, and the setup you talked about, like set up Baron, start Baron, force a team fight, and then they actually go bot lane with Kakao to try and make a really risky play. Backfires completely. So like 2 really big blunders by these 2 teams here in the mid-early late game. That was part of why this game was also
Messy.
like super messy and very, very
Scrappy.
long.
Yeah, Misfits drop the ball here. Power of Evil drops the ball in the next one, but they steal Baron with it, so let's take a look at that. Again, Roccat does get in the position where they can take it, but yeah, and Orianna, how are you supposed to shield this at this time? How is Roccat supposed to play this?
I don't think you even do Baron here.
No, this Baron is just 50-50 and it's not good. I mean, the best way to do it, you just have, you need a member of your team to suicide to kind of stop the Kazakhs, and not 50-50, but Kazakhs got QSS at this point, and there is no way you can stop him actually. So this is just 50-50.
And what if we got, like, Kakao would have smited it?
He,
anyway.
he did smite and then into the shockwave of Power of Evil.
Is there a bit of a discrepancy here? I heard you say you do take the 50-50. I prefer to take the 50-50 Barons.
I don't think the 50 Baron is that good. Like, just depends if you can burst it down. Like, some teams prefer to do this. But I think what they should have done is tank it up with Maokai. Like, he's a tank, he can take as many Baron shots as he wants and still turn after. And this is like the advantage of having a tank for Baron, right? They should just tank up the Baron, wait for them to come, and then they just Jhin ultimate, Malzahar flash ultimate onto someone, and then just force a fight with this man advantage they have.
Yeah.
I think the problem they had here as well was just summoner spells were down. Like, Maokai had no flash, he had no TP, so there's no way for him to, like... Oh, he could only hit, like, a guy right at the edge of Baron. I don't know actually what Jhin had in this fight, if he could have joined as well. And then there was QSS on Kakao already, so Malzahar couldn't even like ulti Kakao outside the pit and stop him from jumping in, because you just QSS it and get in anyway. I think just honestly there, when you don't have TP and you don't have any proper setup, this late in the game, I think you just don't do the Baron. You wait like 2 or 3 more minutes, and then I think you make the play with Maokai.
And case in point, Flash was up for Maokai, TP was up for Maokai later in the game, and we see Roccat going for the play around the Elder Drake. Maokai TP's in behind them in a second, flashes over the wall and engages, which is a right decision, and another reason why I think you guys keep saying that they should have won the game.
Yeah, I mean, these 2 guys were yelling and yelling and yelling about TPs from Maokai, because there's so many deep votes from Roccat, and they finally get it. But in the end, like, is this the correct play for Misfits then to actually walk into side and try Baron? Oh, sorry, try Dragon when there is a chance of so many wards behind them?
I think they should set up the cannon for split push, actually. Oh, wait, right now? I'm actually not sure. Like, I guess they have to group with cannon and just try to bait out the TP from Roccat, because this is like the biggest threat, right, they have. So, I guess going for a team fight here is like, they kind of have to force it.
So if Exile is even not sure when he gets 10 seconds to think about it, can we realistically expect these teams to know exactly what they should do? Well, yeah.
I think it's hard. I
Yeah.
mean, it's obviously much easier for us to sit here with these armchair analysts next to us in the Unicorn space. So it is really hard, obviously, when you're in game. I think just overall, like there was a very clear divide. Like the one comp from Misfits wanted to split push with one guy, the other comp really wanted to just team fight with the Maokai. And whenever we had team fights like this, we actually saw Roccat win the fights.
Yeah.
Problem was they were never able to actually take it and push it all the way in to finish, because when they finally were pushing the top side, we got the shockwave from Power Weevil that killed Wadid and hit Yanan as well. Forced them back, and then Alfari took like 2 turrets in bot lane and
I think he
inhib.
got an inhib there.
Yeah, he got inhib as well. And then he came back later, got a Nexus turret and another one, and then in the end they backdoored. So there were some of these mistakes where they were just about to push in for the finish with the big team fight,
Yeah.
and then like 1 or 2 guys get caught, and then they end up losing the game.
Unfortunately for Roccat, the player of the series once again, Ignar from the side of Misfits. That's the same. That's not 2 series in a row. I think it came up already. So that's fantastic. And our player of the series for our first game of the day or match of the day, the Unicorns of Love versus Origin, was Hilisan. And we're going to look back at that series. You guys are still here. Some people might not have seen it. A 2-0 for you guys once again. Can you give us the TLDR of your match versus Origin, Cersei?
Okay, so for the first game, we had scaling team comp, and we had like... okay, so we kind of lost the early game, like fights, and we kind of died 1v1, but our team comp was still like better, and we were scaling better anyway, so we just had to stall the game, and we would win.
Why do you like Rumble so much?
I think his jungle clear, and his even 1v1 potential is really good. And the AoE threat from your ulti, it's so insane. And you can flex pick. It's also a good flex.
And I guess also against like all these like squishy low mobility ones, targets. This is one of my favorite moments, by the way. We were screaming for like big highlight plays, and then Wisdom jumps in, and it's a Zac with passive, and then Taps actually flashes the wall here, and doesn't kill anyone, and this is like, game is over. This was game 2, by the way, for everyone watching, where again you guys fell behind a little bit, but then like it was like you guys fell behind, but it never felt like the game was lost, because whenever we got to late game fights, you guys were just much better.
Yeah, we just had the better scaling team comp.
I also feel like you played them better.
Well, okay, we played better because like with the advantage they got in the early game, they don't do anything. Like that's their problem, because like they got the advantage, but they didn't use it. That's the problem.
In this game, Exile, this was the game where you got camped, you had no summoners, your jungler was a Zac who didn't want to help you, so you got ganked like 3 times.
Yeah, this was, I mean, you could basically say it's the result of the early invade, maybe.
Yeah, the early invade also, where Zac obviously dies and gives the kill to Hecarim. For yourself or for people at home when they are feeding and feeding and feeding in lane, what could you have, was there anything different you could have done? Like, was there anything, did you misplay anything you feel in the early game, or was it just like doomed from the get-go?
I think I could have avoided one gank when I should have hacked the right side a bit more. Like, I think it was the first gank or something. But I believe after this, there was, not much to do, actually. Like, I mean, I could have warded out, but in the end, I got dived, I believe, on the second gank or third gank.
Yeah.
And then it's like, there's like, not much you can do.
He stayed at his tower, but Hecarim just came from behind him.
And I got one-shotted, I believe, from the second gank.
You also used flash on that gank. You tried to flash forward, so you didn't have flash actually when he dove you right after. But I guess, I mean, there's really nothing you could do there.
It was mostly my fault, actually. Like, I was behind because of that bad invade, and Hecarim, like, didn't care about me, so...
Was it your call?
Yeah.
All right, well, see, everything's owned up. It's all good. One thing I want to ask, though, your team fighting looked extremely crisp, and I think that is one of the reasons why you guys, with relative ease, came back in both of those games. Not easy comps to work out, in my opinion. You have the Jhin, you have to set up with the Rumble Ultimate. We know how easy that is to fumble. We have the Rice TPing in with the Shen. I feel like there was a lot of coordination involved. If so, do you guys agree? And do you guys feel that your team fighting right now is just going really well, even though you had that last-minute change in the bottom lane? So it's not like you've been together for a year.
I think right now, like, basically all those comps that we play on stage, we practice in scrims, right? And then, like, the situations that we occur in the game, they're not really, like, unique. We play them over and over. And I think our communication now, especially because we're like fully European team right now, like our communication is really good in the game. And yeah, I think that team fights in general, like we always call a clear target and we are all really aware of what's going on in the team fight. And I think that's like a really big advantage that we have. So I think we can play this out well.
Yeah, looked really good indeed, and I'll be looking forward to those team fights in that H2K game on Saturday as well. We are going to take a look at our updated standings after the first day of the week here, week 2 of the split. Still at the top of Group A, G2 Misfits are now 2-0, and H2K and the Unicorns of Love are at the top of Group B.
It's always kind of funny looking at standings very early on in the split, because usually like 2-0, 0-1s. Like Fnatic obviously sitting here, I'm sure they're going to pick up some wins as well, but I feel like your group, and I want to ask you guys about this, I feel like Group B is going to be stronger than Group A. Not because I think like you guys are going to be stronger than G2 or anything, but I think just like Splice, H2K, Unicorns, I think all three will be good, and I think Vitality has more potential to become like a contender than Giants and Roccat have.
I think our group is just more competitive. And, yeah.
But do you think that's going to be a problem at all? Or do you think like easy peasy first place?
And no.
No?
No. Like,
I mean, I guess H2K right now is favorites actually for first place.
and yeah, but I still think we can be the first place as well.
So just beat H2K on Saturday.
I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
And then later on in the season also beat them again, I
Yeah,
guess.
that's the plan.
All right. Well, that's all that's said about that series then. Our match of the week. They're not going to let us look into their cards too much.
I mean, they don't really want to reveal anything.
No.
It's been like, I think maybe Ivern is a pick.
I think Cersei's pretty happy about Ivern.
Today, Ivern might be considered
Yeah.
in
All
this
right.
Big and Ban phase.
Well, then let's move on and see what we have on our plates here. Tomorrow, another day of broadcast, and actually 3 more days coming, and then tomorrow we'll have Vitality versus Splice to kick everything off, and Giants versus Fnatic. So Fnatic, they've been very vocal on social media. This is the match that we want to take. We have to win this one. It'll be very exciting. What are your predictions for these matches, guys? Vitality, Splice?
I think Splice takes the first series. I'm pretty sure they do. And I go for Fnatic for the second one. Goes 2-0 for either Splice and Fnatic.
Okay, Cersei?
Splice wins 2-1 and Fnatic wins 2-0.
You were the only one that was correct today. You said 2-0 for Misfits as well, so.
Do you have any idea how Splice, because we talked about Splice, all the players about how Splice have been very good in scrims before, and they were very surprised they lost so hard to H2K. Do you have any experience playing against them or anything, and like they were underperforming on stage? Or?
I think we've only scrimmed them once so far.
Only once.
And
Okay.
yeah, it went pretty well actually, like when we scrimmed them for us.
No, telling smirk.
Yeah, I just feel like Splice is one of the teams that's really hard to talk about right now, because same roster as last split, we at least expect them to come in and be like a top team. Yes, they only had 1 series, but they got like super stomped against H2K. And I want to obviously see them bounce back now. I think they will. But I just wonder like if Splice is this kind of team that actually has the chance of really going downhill and not being as good as we expect.
Well, we will see tomorrow. For now, though, it is time for us to log off here at the European LCS. Thank you very much, our guest from the Unicorns of Love, for joining us. And join us tomorrow at 5 p.m. Central European Time. That is 8 a.m. Pacific for our friends across the Atlantic as the 2017 EU LCS Spring Split continues. Good night.
Sees his life flashing before his eyes. Autos a second, and that's gonna be first blood. But Exile's caught up. Wisdom and Hiva are running straight for him, and Taz picks up a kill. Meanwhile, in the back, they found Samix, but it's a fight on 2 fronts as Xerxes and Hylissang have taken down Sartorius. Unicorns are marching into this, and they're looking for the victory. Wisdom, Nahun are the only ones left alive, and it's just down to the snake. And that's it, a triple kill for Samix. Ganking mid lane. Yeah, no summoners this time. They knock Exile back in, and this is going to be it. Nahun claims the kill. Wait, Wisdom, though, is just going straight in once again. No summoners on Exile, and just like clockwork, Wisdom cleans him up, hits him with a big bullet. Cersei not letting Wisdom off that easy, and there's no more passive, but there is a heal. Samix with a double kill. The Realm Warp, Cersei cleaning up. Now they find Wisdom again, and that's the ace. 20 minutes in the game. But this is over. Fab's the last man standing, and not for very long. And there's the ace. And they will take the 2-0 over Origin. Doss drops off, Han Sama now dominating. Baxi makes his way to the backline. In goes Cacao, double kill. Misfits are too far ahead, and nothing that Roccat does matters in the end. OCC connects on the jungler. They could go in a moment's notice to drop slower. Drop slower. Do it again! Every time! Oh, Power of Evil gets it. Ignar ferries the team to safety. I don't care about Cacao. Good. Now pulling back. Betsy doing his best to hold on here. Flash forward. Misfits moving on to Betsy. Betsy has overstepped. This is disastrous. The wave is there. Misfits are advancing. You can see it. Blood in the eyes. They can look for the play.
Ignar,
They don't need it.
they're going. Ignar's
Oh,
going without firing.
no!
They're forcing it.
Cacao stole it
anyways.
Cacao! Oh, they're moving forward. They're going to take
done
it.
it.
There's nothing left. Roccat make every move to take control of the game, but in the end, the one that matters falls in the favor of Miss.